There was one atheist caller that I wanted to take from China. Mercy, thanks so much for your patience. Let's try and hit this really quickly. You were wondering what my position was on death with dignity and people being granted a clearance to end their life, right?
Yeah. I think I may have misunderstood your stance. I just really have a question about how you feel about assisted suicide and who you feel should be able to just die freely. Should it just be people with terminal illnesses? Could it be somebody who's had a fucked up life from the time that they were brought on this earth? Could it be somebody who's just having a bad day and just know that they won't have a good life for the rest of their lives? Like, how do you determine who is eligible for assisted suicide? And if people choose to die with assistance, how do you determine if it was something that was dignified or if they died with dignity?
Yeah, one of the nice things is that I'm not in a position where I get to make this decision for other people. My position is really simple. I am in favor of individual sovereignty, individual autonomy, and death with dignity. I think we, as a society, have a duty to make sure that people aren't running around killing themselves willy-nilly, like, you know, and I don't mean to pick on anybody because of their age or anything else. This is just kind of stereotypical. A 16-year-old who feels the world's coming to an end because the person that they're attracted to isn't attracted to them, and they think this is going to be, you know, subsume the rest of their life. I think we have a duty to prevent that person from taking a rash, non-reversible action, at least in the short term. But I'm not the one who gets to decide any of this. My view of death with dignity and assisted suicide, which I am in favor of, should actually be done under the guidance of medical ethicists, not me, not Paul, not somebody else. The people who, you know, in the same way that we Paul and I shouldn't be deciding the fate of the guy who got arrested for murdering someone last night on our own. We can participate in a jury process, and that process determines the dispensation of that person's punishment. I think something similar. I think there should be a medical review board, and that review board would not just deal with physical illness and but also mental illness as well. Anything where the medical ethicists, the experts, are to say, yes, this is a, oh, we lost Mercy, sorry. Yes, this is a reasonable opportunity, a reasonable conclusion. Because it's undeniable to me that there are people whose quality of life is so awful that ending their life is preferable to continuing it. This seems to me to be an incredibly obvious thing. And if I'm ever in that position, I would want to be able to end my life. We talk about what rights someone have. If I wanted to end my life, it's not like I have a right to do so, or my right is protected, or like they're going to arrest me if I fail or whatever. It's not like I violated a law. This is about compassion towards other human beings, to say there are some people who want to commit suicide and end their existence, and they actually have good reasons for it. That their continued existence is more suffering than it is persisting, or it's more about surviving and not thriving. There are also people who would want to end their life who are just in a terrible position temporarily, and if we were to provide them a comfort and protection to move forward, we know statistically it is unlikely that they would not regret that attempt and stuff, because we know there's people who attempt this thing. I'm not the one who gets to decide for anybody. That's what the medical ethicists are for, and the experts looking at mental health issues and stuff. Paul Jade, I don't know what your position is, and I just rambled.
Well, the only I always bring to it, so I mentioned it a couple times here, that I had a cancer diagnosis, and at one point they had warned me that I may only have 4 weeks to live, and at that point, I was very scared, and of course I saw the other people who were in the same condition that I was in the hospital, and all the thought I always just had was I would I'm much more afraid of being forced to be alive than dying, even though I was, even though I was an atheist and I no longer thought in the afterlife. And I feel so greatly for the people who would prefer to not live, but can't do something on their own. And so that's of course the situation we're looking at here. And anyone who wants to deny them any avenue of that kind of relief is just monstrous. I guess that's all I have to say.
Yeah, I think for me, this issue is easier than war. We're going to try and take one more call here in just a second. So, John, hang on. For me, this call's almost easier than war. I'm not a pacifist. am in favor of defending myself and others. I would prefer that it never get to violence. In my entire life, I've struck exactly one person, and that was in a like 7th grade, I'm going to fight you behind the magic market after school type thing. And mostly I was afraid of punching them. So I just put them in a headlock and kind of lightly popped them on the head because I was a little bigger. So I've never actually done damage to anybody like that. And I was in the military for 8 years, a little over 8 years, and served during the Gulf War and other things. I'm not pro-war. I'm not looking for, but when we're going to take action and when we're going to involve ourselves in a military conflict, that's not a decision that just like a couple people run off and make, or the individual soldiers run off and make. That's not the way any of this works. I think we could do at least that good with dealing with people who want to die, that we can review it and recognize that not everybody who wants, somebody who wants to die, it may be temporary. It may be viewed as frivolous, although it's not frivolous to them at the time. Recognizing the complications around this, we have the ability to help people. And I find it embarrassing. This is my easiest position on death with dignity. I find it embarrassing and repugnant that I can go take my cat to the vet to have them put down in order to ease their suffering. But if a person I loved was in a similar situation, I would not have that ability. Why are we kinder to our pets than to our parents?